Who's giving voice to male suffering, and how do their scripts impact male growth and peace? They're saying what many are afraid to say, that men are hurting and no one cares. Galloway says it too crass, Richard Reeves says it too passive, and Jordan Peterson says it too abstract. But they're saying it. This is what one man wrote to me after I wrote a Substack essay entitled For the Love of Men. That article was about how the late night host, Jimmy Kimmel, offered a loving tribute on his opening show monologue for his best male friend, a father, husband, and accomplished musician who had passed away earlier in the day. The point I was trying to make was that at a time when the media is flooded with content about how men are hurting, people like Kimmel and his friend, Cleto Valentine Escobedo III, represent the millions of male stories and lives so much more relevant to the latest crisis of masculinity. My reader's response resonated with me on a number of levels. I get it that some men feel like no one cares about the pain of men. In many respects, I agree with that concept. In too many modern societies, we have built a narrative that men should be stoic warriors who carry their burdens thanklessly. This male resignation cohabitates in the heart of male suffering with a variety of other sexist notions that have never served men well, especially in today's modern world. I would rather we eradicate this narrative than valorize it. On another level, this reader's response raised up something I have been wanting to write about for years: the damaging effects of celebrities marketing pop science masculinity. I've been monitoring and studying various influencers, researchers turned authors, and celebrities who occupy the masculinity space. They are a mix of belief systems and backgrounds, and if you analyze them closely, you can see how they fit on a distribution curve. On one end are a thin group of feminist, fluid, post-traditionalists who, in many regards, pander to the derision of men as humans. As you go up the bell curve, you start to see an introduction of individuals who see the traits of men more clearly. These individuals talk more about reforming society to meet the challenges men face, with a handful focused on how we socialize men as a cause of male suffering. These people have a solid balance of retaining all of the good that feminism has brought to American society and seek to help men engage in the benefits of what are genderless behaviors and experiences, including vulnerability, empathy, and compassion. They also promote shared responsibility for household incomes over male breadwinners and encourage men seeking employment in roles dominated by women. As you reach the top of the bell curve and continue down the other side, we start to encounter influencers and others who are tread male adjacent. These are not evil red pill people, but they do view men and women through traditional gender lenses. What they promote have kernels of truth to them, but they can also be the gateway to more patriarchal ideologies, the slippery slope down the other side of the bell curve into misogyny, reinforced hierarchies, and dominance over women. And I kind of think those are the goals of deviant miscreants at the fringe of the far right of the bell curve. Your classic hypermasculine traditionalists promoting sex, money, status, and flash as the essence of manliness. While each of these individuals market their own mix of gender ideology and guidance, what binds nearly all of them is the fact that most of them never talk about why men suffer to begin with. Except this guy, Dr. Ron Levant. Experts with less influence. Dr. Levant is professor emeritus of psychology at the University of Akron and a former president of the American Psychological Association, the APA, and its Society for the Psychological Study of Men and Masculinities. He also has been a two-term editor of that study's quarterly journal, Psychology of Men and Masculinities. To put it succinctly, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. Unfortunately, we currently live in an anti-intellectual age that doubts smart people who examine things thoroughly. For a host of reasons, we humans find glib, media-trained celebrities and influencers more worthy of our attention and engagement. But the facts are what they are. America has been crying over a series of masculinity crises for going on 70 years. Over that time, men have made little progress in understanding why they are the way they are, and most importantly, what they can do to alleviate their suffering. Listening to people like Dr. Levant and Dr. Niobe Way, professor of applied psychology at New York University and director of their PhD program in developmental psychology, might actually help. Alas, Dr. Levant and Dr. Way aren't awesome at TikTok and Instagram. Instead, we imbibe the aphorisms of people like Scott Galloway. Don't get me wrong. I think Galloway is a well-intentioned sort, at least as best as I can determine. But Galloway's sharply refined marketing, at a minimum, normalizes traditional masculine frameworks by appearing self-betterment oriented at the expense of the long-term progress achieved when men fully interrogate the costs of traditional masculine norms. I am not completely disregarding the benefit of Scott's voice and others speaking out about men today. Like my reader noted, their voice both sharpens and brightens the spotlight on men and their issues. There are kernels of good advice in much of what they say. But we are obligated to analyze also the potential destruction wrought by what they say and how they say it. Real men are quiet. The thing is, most of these polished influencers have very narrow views of what men are actually going through, especially outside of the geographies and circles that they travel in. In a span of 24 hours, I encountered 5 men of varying ages in and around Greensboro, North Carolina. Take note, New York City media. The men of this country are a lot more diverse and complex than the people you encounter at cocktail parties and conferences. It might help if you got off the coasts and met some of them. Friday night at a downtown holiday celebration, I spoke with 2 young heterosexual couples out together for the evening. I'm guessing they were in their 20s. I asked them if they knew of Scott Galloway and his media book tour addressing male suffering. All 4 said, not really. I asked the young men about their suffering and the suffering of their male friends. Some men suffer, yeah, they answered, adding that most of their male friends were generally happy with their lives. Their girlfriends agreed. The next morning, I interrupted a young man alone, carrying a white trash bag in the park. I think he was a teenager. I frequently walk in this park with my son's dog, DJ. We briefly talked about why he was cleaning up. Because it's a beautiful park and I want it to stay that way, he answered. He smiled throughout our brief conversation, and he was taken aback when I thanked him for his wonderful gift. He said it was simply the right thing for him to do, and we parted ways on the walking path. 5 minutes later, I encountered on that same walking path an older man and a man in his 30s or 40s. Each were holding the hand of a boy named Nathan who has Down syndrome. I have come to know Nathan these last few months because his home health aide would take Nathan to this park in the mornings to do laps around the pond. Through July and into August, Nathan started to say good morning to DJ and me, and we would have these lovely, brief conversations. This particular morning, the five of us stopped to chat. I told them about how Nathan and I had become friends over the summer, and that I treasured his smile and his cheerful greetings. We three men engaged lovingly over Nathan's beautiful spirit for a few minutes, until Nathan reached out to pet DJ. Not knowing how DJ would respond to a total stranger, unaware of how dogs can be, I slid up next to Nathan to bring both our hands slowly towards DJ's head. Nathan grabbed my hand and held it, and together we gave DJ a few pats. Looking up at the two men, we all were beaming at each other. There were no blue pills or red pills. There was no patriarchy to destroy, nor any shame or guilt from not being feminine enough. We were just three grown men being good humans. Over the next few months, I'm going to explore most of the faces you see on this screen. We're going to examine what they say, how they say it, and try to be honest about what they are and are not contributing to the end of male suffering. I'll be incorporating what Doctors Way and Levant have discovered about how men's personalities, beliefs, and behaviors are formed. Wherever possible, I also want to inject the stories of the millions of wonderful men living quiet lives of dignity, integrity, and compassion, like the five men I encountered this weekend. And I would be so grateful if you would introduce me to the men you believe represent the best of masculinity, including if that man is you. This is what America needs to see go viral every day, on the hour, every week, if we are ever going to end male suffering. You are the counterweight to what big media wants us to believe about men and masculinity, and there are more of us than there are of them. I hope you will join me in this conversation. Your voice matters so much more than those currently shouting the loudest. The men, women, and children of America need you now more than ever.